Welcome to Infectious Diseases TV. We share useful information about infectious diseases. So today, we're going to dig into the science behind exercise and our immune systems to answer a question that, let's be honest, a lot of us have asked after a really tough workout. Can you actually exercise your way into getting sick? Let's find out. Okay, let's just jump right in. We all know the deal. Exercise is fantastic for you, right? It's great for your heart, your mood, and yep, it's a huge boost for your immune system. But is there a line, a tipping point where all that hard work actually starts to backfire and maybe even leaves you more open to catching a bug? So, first things first, let's just lay down the foundation. We've got to understand what regular, moderate exercise actually does for our body's defense systems. This is the well-established good news part of the story. And the science is pretty clear on this one. On one side, you've got the baseline infection risk for someone who's, mostly sedentary. But check this out. The person who gets in regular, moderate exercise has a 20 to 30% lower risk of catching things like the common cold. That is a huge protective effect. All right, but this is where the plot thickens a bit. For decades, sports scientists have used a model that points to a potential downside of pushing your body to the absolute limit. Let's take a look at what they call the J-curve. So this J-shaped curve is a really great way to picture the theory. If you follow the line, you see that sedentary folks are right there at a baseline risk. As you start adding moderate exercise, that risk drops. That's the bottom of the J. But then, as the exercise gets super intense and goes on for a long time, the curve hooks back up, suggesting that your infection risk actually starts to climb again, sometimes even higher than for people who don't exercise at all. And look, this isn't just some abstract idea on a chart. It's based on real-world observations. And one of the most famous examples, the one everyone points to, comes from all the way back at the 1987 Los Angeles Marathon. Researchers had this great idea to track the runners and see what happened to their health after this really grueling race. And the results were, well, pretty shocking. In the week right after the marathon, almost 13% of the runners reported symptoms of an upper respiratory infection, like a cold. Now, compare that to just over 2% of a control group of people who didn't run. That is a massive difference. And for a long time, it was the key piece of evidence for this whole idea that extreme exercise can leave you vulnerable. So, what is going on inside the body to cause this? Well, for a long time, the leading explanation was something called the open window hypothesis. But what if that's not the whole story? As you're about to see, the science is starting to tell us something new, and frankly, a whole lot cooler. So the classic theory went something like this. A really intense, long workout puts so much stress on your body that it temporarily hits the brakes on your immune system. This creates this so-called open window, lasting anywhere from a few hours to maybe 3 days, where viruses and bacteria might have an easier time getting in and setting up shop. It's an idea that kind of makes sense, right? And it's made a lot of athletes really cautious about pushing too hard. But what if we've been looking at it all wrong? What if our immune system isn't shutting down, but is actually doing something much smarter, something more strategic? And this is where it gets really cool. We used to measure immune cells in the blood, and after a hard workout, those numbers would drop. We thought they were being destroyed. But get this, new evidence shows they're not gone, they're on the move. They're leaving the bloodstream and traveling to places like the lungs, the front lines where pathogens are most likely to try and invade. It's not suppression, it's a strategic redeployment. It's your body playing chess, not checkers. And this isn't just a fringe idea. Check out this quote from a major 2018 review. It basically says that calling exercise immunosuppressive is just a misconception. In reality, over the long haul, all kinds of physical activity probably make your immune system stronger and more efficient for your entire life. Okay, so the science has evolved. Intense exercise isn't the big bad villain we maybe once thought it was. But that still leaves us with a really practical question. How do we get all the benefits without totally overdoing it? Let's break down some actionable advice. For most of us, the sweet spot is actually pretty clear. The World Health Organization recommends aiming for about 150 to 300 minutes of moderate intensity exercise every week. This is the zone where you're getting a clear, powerful boost to your immune system and your overall health with very little risk. And hey, if you are pushing into more intense training, maybe for a marathon or a big event, the key isn't to be afraid of the exercise itself. It's to support your body's amazing response. First, listen to your body. If you're tired all the time, that's a huge red flag. Make sure you're fueling up with good food and enough water. And seriously, don't skimp on sleep and rest days. That's when the magic happens. And of course, simple stuff like washing your hands after you hit the gym can make a huge difference. So if there's one thing you remember, let it be this shift in mindset. A hard workout doesn't break your immune system. It actually challenges it to adapt and get stronger. Your job isn't to avoid that challenge, but to give your body the tools it needs through fuel, rest, and smart planning to rise to the occasion. That shift in perspective, from fearing hard work to supporting smart recovery, well, it changes everything. So the question we want to leave you with is this: are you training smart, or are you just training hard? This is Infectious Diseases TV. Please like and subscribe.